What a lovely Tuesday morning. Karibu sana. This is the Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. Today being the 18th of February, 2025.
Karibu sana. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Anne Odida. It is indeed a very beautiful Tuesday. How hot is your coffee? From wherever you're watching Morning Cafe from.
All right. And of course, so what we do right here is tell you what is happening today. I look at the dailies, the big headlines. Raila anganganiwa. Ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo.
People Daily, why Ruto allies want Raila for Prime Minister.
And Raila is everywhere. On the Standard, Taming Raila.
The Star, how Arab states, France ganged up against Raila.
Raila is also on the front page of the Daily Nation. Why Kenya keeps losing top jobs race. The picture there of Raila Odinga.
And the Business Daily, 33 billion Kenyan shillings contracts grants axed in USAID purge.
So clearly Raila Odinga is the biggest discussion, talking point coming from that AUC election loss. And we will continue looking at that. And as far as international, regional dailies are concerned, bwana wetu wa PNG ametusaidia mpaka ametuongezea gazeti kadhaa pale. Jamhuri hii ya Tanzania inasema vita kubwa ya nukia. Kagame hana mpango wa kutoa majeshi DRC. Tshisekedi aenda Ulaya kutafuta silaha. Hii gazeti ya Tanzania, ama ni ya wapi? Jamhuri ya Tanzania. Sema Uganda tishia kuingia vitani, Ramaphosa ongeza askari zaidi, Burundi nao wamo. Gazeti hili na shughulikia sana masuala ya DRC. Hapa Kenya ni kama tulikuwa tumesahau
kidogo. AU ilituchanganya kidogo.
Tulisonga, we move on very fast. Move on very fast.
Ilitutoa out of character.
So gazeti ile ya Jamhuri inaturudisha kwa masuala ya DRC na mambo yamefika wapi. Anasema kuna makaburi mapya 600 ya wanajeshi wa Rwanda yaongezeka ndani ya miaka mitatu. Wafanyabiashara wa madini wa kizungu wadaiwa kuwa chanzo cha mgogoro mkubwa. Gazeti hili la Jamhuri.
The Citizen, UK envoys take on radical shift in aid policies still in Tanzania. And they say in an exclusive interview, the Citizen British High Commissioner to Tanzania, Mariani Young, shared insights into the global shift in foreign aid and its potential implications for Tanzania.
All right.
We see another story there. SMEs embrace digital payments as cashless economy expands. That's also a conversation you're having here in Kenya. We weren't, or maybe they want SMEs to also tap into digital payments.
All right.
Tanzania bags $12.6 million horticulture deals at Germany event. And kule juu we see TANROADS unveils plan to ease congestion and boost connectivity in 5 cities of Tanzania. That's the Citizen.
Right. Tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi na ndio niweze kuona vyema. Tuende hapa. Wanasema mageuzi mapya, habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi. Huku ni Bongo. Serikali yatangaza mkakati maalum kuboresha barabara, majiji 5 na miji 3 nchini kunufaika. Ni utekelezaji wa agizo la Rais Samia kupunguza foleni. Wachumi waeleza tija yake ya taifa wakigusia athari za kiuchumi na kiafya. So we'll focus more on infrastructure, especially the road infrastructure, road, rail, as well as port. So kuboresha barabara, majiji 5 na miji 3. Majiji na miji. Kuna tofauti.
Cities and town.
Kuna majiji 5 na miji 3. So 3 cities and about 5 towns set for an upgrade in Tanzania at a cost of 1.7 trillion shillings. Tanzanian money. Yes. Pale juu Healthpay yatoa trilioni 8.2 kwa miaka 20. Kama ni equivalent ya HELB hapa Kenya. Na mswada NHIF kuleta kicheko kwa wananchi. Bado wao wako na NHIF. Sisi tulimove tukaenda SHIF.
Yes. Na yao pia iko na shida.
Kuna habari hapa wanaangazia siri wanawake kuwapa wenzao wao zawadi hizi. Kuna socks na kuna suruali za ndani. Masuala ya Valentine. Watu wanapatiwa tu socks.
Kenya could never. We've moved away from that.
Na pale juu kwenye gazeti hili la Mwananchi bado picha ya Raila Odinga iko pale. Huku ni Tanzania hapa juu. Wanasema sababu Rais Ruto kutupiwa lawama anguko la Raila. Kushindwa kwa mwanasiasa mkongwe Raila Odinga AU au maarufu Baba. Mpaka wale wanajua anaitwa Baba. kama Wakenya wanavyopenda kumuita, aliyekuwa akiwania nafasi ya mwenyekiti wa tume la Umoja wa Taifa AUC, kumeibua mambo mengi na wanasema sasa Rais Ruto anatupiwa lawama. It's the same discussion we're having in Kenya probably yesterday. Who's to blame? Yeah. So that is as far as Tanzania is concerned. Let's focus on Uganda for a bit, and we start off with the Daily Monitor.
Besigye fever now from Luriza prison to the streets of Kampala and districts upcountry. The pressure is mounting on government to release opposition politician Dr. Kizza Besigye. He has been on a hunger strike and he's very sick, according to opposition leaders who, of course, marched yesterday to the place where he's detained, but they were not able to see him. Again, he's very sick.
Yes, it's very rare for Ugandans to actually take to the streets because of how police react to any kind of demonstrations. But yesterday they did it. So Besigye fever, this is the biggest discussion in Uganda. Remember that among his top lawyers is none other than Martha Karua, who is lead counsel in that case. That is as far as the Daily Monitor is concerned in Uganda. The other paper is A New Vision, which talks about why government has raised next year's budget. So the budget increased by 8.6 trillion Ugandan shillings. Remember, our budget this time around increased by about 700 billion, from 3.8 to 4.2. So about 500 billion shillings. Yao imeongezeka na trillion 8.6. So matters budget making also making it to the front pages in Uganda. Pale juu, congressmen condemn USA sanctions on Uganda. Now that things have changed. Bishop Wanok reconciles Aseng and Amongi. Hiyo nafikiri ni hao tu wanaweza elewa.
Hawa walikuwa wanapigania parliamentary seat huko kwao.
They also make mention of Raila Odinga's loss at the AU at the bottom right-hand corner. They ask, did DR Congo conflict cost Raila AU top job? Iko pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. So this is something that is being discussed across the region, not just in Kenya, in Uganda and Tanzania as well. And they found spaces on the front pages of their dailies across the region. So yes, we'll be back to take a look at that story in depth, because in Kenya, Raila is the biggest discussion. You know, for a while, for about 6 or so months, he had disappeared from the front pages. Now he's back, and everyone is talking about him.
It's heavy.
All right, let's come back home and take a look at the weather situation. And we start off in Malaba.
Yes.
This is Malaba, not Malava. So probably, because Malava constituency is in mourning, but it's not very far from here. So in Malaba, it is 18 degrees Celsius as we speak. Promises to get very hot. For any part of Western Kenya to get to 33 degrees Celsius, this is extra hot. Yes. So do expect some not very friendly weather today. Sunny throughout the day with a bit of cloud cover, but nothing in terms of rainfall. So do expect itabidi kunywa maji pale. Kwingine ambapo tunajua kuna joto ni Garissa.
23 degrees as at now. It feels like 25. It will be sunny throughout the day. Highs of 36 degrees. Precipitation 0 here. So
in Garissa, it's quite hot as well. Homa Bay, it is 21 degrees Celsius as we speak. Also quite hot. Feels like 24. Highs of 32 degrees. Sunshine throughout the day, very little cloud cover, and it would appear that that is a situation across the country. 3 very different geographically positioned areas that are all very hot today. Let's take a look at Karatina. See if at all it's any different.
It's 12 degrees as at night, feels like 11. It will be sunny throughout the day with highs of 26 degrees. This comfortable weather. Yes, precipitation 0.
Finally, Nairobi. 16 degrees Celsius. Wow, this is sunshine throughout the days. You can see no cloud cover for the better part of the morning. Highs of 28. Now 28 degrees is the highest we've felt in a very long time. It will get warmer as we continue with the week, because according to this forecast on Thursday, it will get as high as 29 degrees Celsius. But yes, today, kama unatembea nje, be careful. You might need
umbrella,
sunscreen. Yes, in Nairobi. So that's the weather situation across the country. Warm weather across. Sijaona mahali hakuna mvua anywhere. All right, let's take a look at traffic situation in Nairobi. as at, what is it, 6, 7, 8 minutes past 6. Traffic is building up slowly towards this Pangani interchange on Thika Road. You can see just before you get to the Pangani interchange, there's a stretch of yellow around the Mathare Mental Hospital. So that means there's something happening there. Hopefully it will resolve before watu wengi wafike hiyo area. Otherwise inaweza leta shida na i-back up further back on Thika Road. Otherwise it's building up kama kawaida pale Pangani interchange, nothing out of the ordinary. Also around these areas, railway bus stop, Haile Selassie Avenue in town, it's building up on both sides of the road, going down to Mudhurwa and going up towards the Bomb Blast roundabout. Also Haile Selassie Avenue and Landis Road, that roundabout there, it's also building up. On Jogoo Road, looks very comfortable today. Nothing much to report. In fact, it's green all the way from Donholm all the way to City Stadium roundabout. Manyanja, not bad. In Kangundo Road, yes, areas around Joska building up. Immediately after that junction from Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital, there's a stretch of red there. So Kangundo Road ni kawaida yake, nothing out of the ordinary. Pipeline 2 along Outer Ring Road in a build up around there, around areas where you have Tumaini Estate there as well. Mombasa Road is looking good all the way into town past Next Gen Mall. Capital Center all the way into town, a bit of yellow once you get to the area around Nyayo Stadium, but nothing to worry about because you can use the expressway there. Other areas, Langata Road, pale Uhuru Gardens heading towards town, kuna shida kidogo pale, but nothing much to worry about. Ngong Road looking good, and so it does Wayaki Way into town. So traffic sio mbaya sana, it's still very early, 10 minutes past the hour. So probably at half past the hour, director anaweza turudisha huku tuangalie kama mambo itakuwa imegeuka.
Right, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
You may not be able to control the challenges life throws at you, but you can control how you respond. Choose strength, choose hope, and choose to keep going no matter what.
Right, and just before we take a look at the dailies, just a quick update on our guests this morning on State of the Nation. James Gakuya, MP, Embakasi North, Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, and Daniel Manduku, MP Jaribari Masaba. So as we discuss Raila Odinga and what next after the AUC election loss, these are the gentlemen who will be helping us with their assessment and opinions on the issue. Later on, the art of driving sells with Martin Muthe, visual merchandiser. How can you brand your brand? Visual merchandiser?
Yes.
What is that?
I don't know how to say it, but to keep an eye on that.
Okay.
From 8.
The art of driving sales. Right? Something to look forward
to. It has something to do with colors, something to appeal to the eye of a customer, you know, how to attract them.
I thought he's dealing in sunglasses and stuff.
Koma kabisa. Yeah.
All right, so let's go and take a look at the local dailies now. And we start off with the Star. And on the Star, they give us a different tangent on what could have happened in Addis Ababa on Saturday during the AUC elections, how Arab states, France, ganged up against Raila Odinga. So they have the brains behind Raila's AUC campaign. But the story talks about how Arab nations, yes, or the nations that are linked to Arab, mostly North Africa, and then France and the Francophone countries ganged up against Raila, leading to the loss. Well, same story like yesterday, just looking for who's to blame.
Yeah.
How did we lose? Kenyan dailies were all talking about Ruto's blunders.
Yeah.
Now, the Stars come up with something different, that probably Arab states and France had a lot to do with that loss.
Yeah.
Some were even blaming Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know.
Yeah.
Other quick stories there on the front page of this paper. Millicent Odhiambo talks about Jill of all trades who has weathered storms and inside Kenya Kwanza strategy to stem dissent, party politics, Remember, there's a lot of happenings, a lot of things happening within Kenya Kwanza itself, with the ANC party dissolving. Now what's going to happen to Ford Kenya?
Yeah. With
Raila now back home, does it put Speaker Moses Wetangula's position in jeopardy? So some of those discussions on the Star. Remember, being a Tuesday, this is a free copy of the Star. It's not for sale. You can get it, and it comes with a complimentary copy of MyGov Pullout for government tenders and job opportunities. See MyGov Pullout inside the Star. Fresh, independent, different. But it's not so different today because matters AU and the aftermath are still front page news on the other dailies.
Daily Nation, why Kenya keeps losing top jobs race, and they give what is it called?
Chronology.
Yes, of participation in these events. And we started 2025 at the African Union Commission chairperson, where Raila Odinga participated, emerged number 2. 2024 headquarters of Loss and Damage Hub. We have Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Nancy Karigethu, in 2023. Still in 2023, headquarters of African Continental Free Trade Area. In 2022, President of International Fund for Agricultural Development with Rachel Omamo. 2020, that is WTO Director General Amina Mohamed. And 2017, African Union Commission Chairperson, that is still Amina Mohamed. And they say humiliation galore. Veteran politician Raila Odinga's recent misadventure in Addis Ababa wasn't Kenya's first since 2017, when former Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed lost to Chad's Musa Faki Mahamat for the same post of AUC chairperson. More defeats have followed on the continent and internationally. Each of them has been punctuated with concessions, blame games, and supposed lessons for the future. And analysts argue country's latest defeat at African Union attributable to familiar missteps. That's the main story on the Daily Nation. Other stories there. Principals want to raise school fees by 27,000, and this is in regards to the lack of capitation to schools. And learners in day schools in principle do not pay tuition fees, but Kesha now wants them to pay 5,372 annually. Now, principals of secondary schools have submitted a proposal to the Ministry of Education that, if adopted, will see parents pay up to 27,000 Kenyan shillings more to keep their children in school. The proposal follows inadequate capitation funds by the government, which has forced schools to rack up huge debts. The Dramville saga, tale of Waititu illegal liquidation and 10 billion shillings land. Let's take a look at that as well. They say during a National Assembly committee hearing on November 29, 2022, then Commissioner of Cooperatives David Obonyo claimed that Dramville Farmers Cooperative Society Chairman Felix Maingi had led goons to raid his office and steal documents related to a 16,000-acre parcel of land. Chair Maingi rejects former Commissioner of Cooperatives' allegation that he led goons to raid his office and steal documents. All right. Interesting. That story is on page 10 of the Daily Nation. Other stories there. Tributes pour in for fallen capture boys. Kenya Primary Schools Head Teachers and Association Chairman Johnson Zioka, who died in a road accident on Sunday, has been eulogized as one of Kenya's most dedicated educators. Ruto yields to Raila on House committees. Allies of Mr. Odinga are now set to take up the leadership of some crucial committees previously chaired by lawmakers from the ruling Kenya Kwanza Alliance. And in health, aid cuts to fuel rise in new HIV infections. Ripple effect for funding reduction on the HIV program will result in a projection of about 60,000 new HIV infections by 2030, says Health CS.
Yeah, and that story you just mentioned about the story on page 6 on the Daily Nation, that Ruto yields to Raila on House committees. Allies of Mr. Odinga are now set to take up the leadership of some crucial committees previously chaired by lawmakers from the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition. That story is on page 6 of this paper. And it says that Azimio is now set to drop a quest to initiate an impeachment against Wetangula for declining to effect a court decision. So this is a major shift from what we saw last week, when Junet Mohammed led a team of MPs from the Azimio side, claiming that they were the majority in parliament. That appears to have changed a bit, still linked to the happenings at the AUC. Mambo inachemka pole pole.
All right.
That's the Daily Nation. All right. Move on to Taifa Leo. Raila ang'ang'aniwa ni habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Anasema njia panda. Gachagua amkaribisha katika upinzani akisema Kenya ilimhitaji zaidi kuliko namna bara la Afrika lilivyomhitaji. Kwa upande moja. Upande wa serikali wataka Odinga aendelee kumuunga Ruto, upinzani ukisema asaidie kupiga Kenya kwanza. So njia ni ipi? Kuna Gachagua upande moja, Ruto upande mwingine na Raila pale katikati. Vidokezo zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele pale juu. Mbunge wa Malava Injendi afariki. Kiongozi huyo alifariki jana jioni akitibiwa baada ya kuugua kwa muda mrefu. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Pale chini, farasi ni wawili katika EPL adai slot. Kocha wa Liverpool asema vita vya ubingwa ni kati ya vijana wake na Arsenal, timu kubwa.
Arsenal timu kubwa. Hajasikia hiyo.
Arsenal timu kubwa. Pale chini kuna Papa Mtakatifu na Papa wa Roma. Papa Francis kukaa zaidi hospitalini. Kiongozi wa kanisa Katoliki anasumbuliwa na tatizo sugu la kupumua. Na kwingineko Wetangula apata afueni bungeni. Huyu ni Papa wa Roma, hata huyu ni Papa wa Roma. Hoja ya kumng'atua katika wadhifa wa spika kuzuiliwa na bunge. So habari hizi ndizo tutaangazia tukiwa na wageni wetu asubuhi ya leo. Hilo ni gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Business Daily. 33 billion Kenyan shillings contracts grants axed in USAID purge. Now, the US government has terminated 5 big ticket contracts and grants in Kenya worth a combined 32 billion Kenyan shillings, marking the onset of President Donald Trump's drastic cuts on aid to the country. Now, disclosures through court filings showed that the US government has ended 3 USAID contracts in Kenya worth a combined 28.36 billion Kenyan shillings and 2 grants valued at 4.2 billion Kenyan shillings. Now, more terminations expected in the coming weeks as they review progress on a case-by-case basis. There is, however, uncertainty on the fate of many other programs that the US is funding for Kenya. Former Cusco boss Ototo wanted for theft. He surrendered yesterday. That is George Ototo, ending 4 days of a police hunt for him of alleged theft of 82.8 million shillings through a bogus land deal. Right?
I saw him yesterday leaving court and there was a cameraman trying to focus. Akamppoint akamwambia wewe tutakosana. Hapana tisha journalist tafadhali. Hapana tisha journalist. Hapo hautawezana na
Wezi.
Wachana naye.
They will get you.
Yes.
On the ticker, interest charges on new external loans hit a record high. Varsities, TVETs face 59 billion shillings funding hole. Banks see higher defaults on loans. Now, commercial banks expect to see increased loan defaults by individuals as consumers continue to feel the pinch of reduced disposable incomes and relatively higher interest rates. This is interesting because we did a story, or we read one of these newspapers this week, wakisema the interest rates have gone down. So it contradicts this.
Yes, very contradicting, yeah.
Taxable bond prices rally on falling rates. That's the Business Daily.
All right. On the Standard, the big headline there, 2 words only, Taming Raila. Yes, and I think they have captured basically what we are talking about. Kuna kuzunguka. Everyone is looking on how to contain Raila Odinga. So Taming Raila. Talk about the power play. Even before the dust has settled on Raila Odinga's loss in the African Union race, a push for his appointment as Prime Minister is gaining momentum. Proponents want President Ruto to implement the NADCO report, creating the position in the Constitution. Now, Raila's decision could reshape the political landscape ahead of 2027, whichever way he decides to go. Definitely. Yani mshaangalia mtu hivi mnaangalia yani utaenda upande gani?
Yeye ndo kusema.
Wewe ndo kusema. Wewe yeye ndo kusema.
Yeye ndo kusema.
Other quick highlights on the front page of this paper. If economy is growing, why are Kenyans getting poorer? That's a question. As the economy grows on paper, the reality for many is stark. A new report reveals rising unemployment, poverty and job insecurity, with policies failing to create quality opportunities. Just like you've seen that contradicting headline of the Business Daily. It's the same.
Yeah.
That yes, banks are talking about reduced interest rates, but they're saying we anticipating a lot more defaults.
Yeah.
So if rates go down, there should be some relief. Even here, the government says the economy is growing and we're doing well, but Kenya's not feeling it.
Yeah.
On the top strip of the Standard, tough times ahead as principals out to hike school fees. That story is also on the front page of the Daily Nation,
yes,
where he talks about principals wanting to raise school fees by up to 27,000 shillings. Just imagine that. Bank sues City Hall in 336 million shillings. Wow, that's a story on the Business Daily. On the back page, on the business pages of the Standard. Sorry for that.
Yes.
On the back page, they talk about matter sports, and the headline is, "Oh, what a feeling." Tottenham boss Ange, posted that name, said he could sympathize with Manchester United's manager Ruben Amorim's injury problems after beating the Red Devils 1-0 on Sunday. Yeah. Manchester United are currently occupying the prestigious position number 15, which is about 5 positions from relegation. Yeah. And they've only won 4 matches out of 14. Hawa wanafanya vizuri.
Wanajaribu.
Sawa sana. Congratulations to Manchester United and all your Kenyan fans. That's a Standard today.
At least director Skira. Business Daily.
Namba yao ni karibu ikue 15 ni more than that.
People Daily, why Ruto allies want Raila for Prime Minister. And this, of course, is in regards to the recommendations as the NADCO report in 2020, is it 3 or 2? Yeah, where, among other things, they wanted a position of the Prime Minister as well as an office of the opposition leader. And yeah, this is to contain, okay, people are saying, it's not me. To contain. It's
containing Raila.
Okay. Yeah. I just say it as it is.
But have you thought about how different the headlines would be if at all the results on Saturday were different? Now you would be AUC chairperson, we'd be talking about Hail Raila, congratulations. Now we're just talking about how to tame him.
Yes. How to contain him.
How to contain him. Wow.
Yeah. Sickly state health scheme wobbles into fresh headwinds. Now, RUFA, that is the rural private hospitals, they say the government or the Ministry of Health has not paid claims to hospitals, and a lot of patients are still paying out of pocket and not SHA. So that is what they say when they mean sickly state health scheme wobbles into fresh headwinds. Ministry of Health inasema imelipa. RUFA says we haven't received anything. Hawajaona. And that is for SHA and NHIF as well. NHIF is around 48 billion shillings. For SHA it's about 18 billion. So hapo pia kuna tashwishi. Other stories there, House rejects petition for removal of Wetangula. There was a move or a motion sent to Parliament by activists, yeah? And now the clerk said that something like that cannot be moved unless a member of Parliament...
It has to emanate from the House.
Yes.
It cannot come from
outside.
Yes. Interesting.
Gloom for HIV patients after Trump aid freeze. I think we have until, for 6 months, supply of ARVs. From there, I think, putakuwa na shida.
Kama wajaweka kwa budget, shida.
Yes. That's the People Daily.
And I think that's the last one. Let's take a look at the cartoons this morning. And even the cartoons, they just talk about Raila Odinga, most of them. I think apart from one, I can't remember which one. So this one is a cartoon on the Star. And you see a caricature of Raila Odinga holding this piece of sign. This is a signage showing direction. And he's spinning it. It's a political spin. So they don't know all these people down here, and this represents all other politicians.
Yeah.
From government and in the opposition, some carrying
chungwa.
Inaitwa nini? Uteo ya machungwa. Wote wanashangaa what will happen. Now that this AU thing is settled, what next? Which way Raila? I think that should be the headline. Which way Raila?
Which way Raila?
That's the cartoon on the Star.
Censure motion. This is the Standard. That is a caricature of Speaker Moses Wetangula in a hot soup. What now? I am staying put. Yeah, ajui kama atatolewa ama Azimio itakubali kumwachilia, like we've seen in that particular.
He's definitely in hot soup.
Yes.
Will he be saved? Will he survive this? That's a cartoon on the Standard.
Yeah.
On the Daily Nation, yes, still same story. Now we have a caricature of Raila Odinga there, walking on scorched earth. Or is he walking on water? He's walking on scorched earth, sindio?
Yeah.
Because even this boat is not moving. Imekwama because alikuwa ametoka. Now he's coming back and saying, now, where were we before I left?
Yes.
Wale vijana pale wako huko ndani wasema, ai baba, tafadhali kuja tusaidie tumekwama.
Yeah.
ODM ilikuwa imekwama.
It's so interesting how people depend on Raila, because I also saw somewhere Kuko, they want to go on strike and they were saying, hata tunafikiria kupigia Raila simu.
Now that he's back. Too
So
much, but you cannot put all your burden and all your hope
in one basket.
in one person. The cartoon of the People Daily is a bit different.
Yes. M23, and we see a caricature there of DRC President Felix Tshisekedi, and with, there's also one here, someone here. This is a caricature of Paul Kagame. Hiyo kiti ni moto sana, and Tshisekedi is asking, is this your definition of a ceasefire? We've seen the number of fatalities have rose in the past weeks since that crisis in the DRC began.
So Kagame anajaribu kupuliza hii moto from far. Alafu anauliza sasa ndio unaita ceasefire.
Yeah.
So yes, it would appear that the DRC crisis is still a discussion that we should have.
Yeah.
Yet for many Kenyans we appear to have moved on. But according to the Daily the New Vision in Uganda, it's asking, could this be what have contributed to Raila Odinga's AUC loss? Yes. So it's still linked to some of the discussions we'll be having later today.
All right, stay with us, interact with us on our social media platforms, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, TV47 News KE on X. The hashtag is Morning Cafe. My handle is at @Ann_Odida.
And my handle on X is at Fred Indimuli.
Stay with us.
On the next
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home, do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget, regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Ndimuli. Good morning once again. We now want to take a look at the big headlines this morning. And yes, as you can see behind me, all the dailies are talking about Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is back on the front pages. He's the biggest discussion. Taming Raila, how Arab states and France ganged up against Raila, why Ruto allies want Raila for Prime Minister, Raila Nganganiwa, why Kenya keeps losing top jobs race, and the picture of Raila Odinga there as well. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. Some could even lay claim to the title of prophet. Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, karibu sana.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers.
Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Should we call you prophet?
I don't know.
We'll be back to that.
Doom.
MP Embakasi North. Now, gentlemen, before we even get to the main headline, of course, we have to also take time and probably talk about the news of transition that involves the National Assembly following the passing on of Moses Malulu Njendi, MP Malava constituency. He's your colleague and you've worked with him. So I'll give you an opportunity to say something briefly before we proceed with the main discussions.
Yes, morning viewers once again. I think it's a very sad moment for Parliament, having lost 2 of our members. We lost the Honorable Malulu Njendi, member for Malava, and we also lost the Senator for Baringo, Honorable William Cheptumo. I take this time to pay my tribute and condolences to the families and constituents. I want to say this, it appears that it's only the good people who die. William Cheptumo was my lawyer at one point and somebody I knew very well, and also my neighbor in Nairobi. Honorable Njendi was a humble servant of God. And so as we mourn their passing, we pray that their souls rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Manduku. Mutambu, you go next.
Yes, it's quite unfortunate that we are talking of passing on of very good and charisma people. I'm saying that because I've worked with both of them in Parliament. I've worked with Cheptumo, I've worked with Malulu, and they are very, very intelligent and good-hearted people. And I want to support Madugu when he said it's only good people who dies. That is very true, because people like Jesus died, Muhammad died. Have you ever heard certain death of the devil? Devil has never died. Satan has not died. He's still here, manga-mangaring around everywhere, tanga-tangaring everywhere. So, but jokes aside, it's so sad. And I personally, I would want to convey my sincere condolences to the family members, friends, and also to Parliament, because they were outstanding members of Parliament with a lot of rich experience on how to serve and how to navigate through waves and how to handle things. And there were people who you would not find them in any controversial issues. They were there to serve their people. They were there to serve Kenya. We have lost. May the Lord Almighty rest their souls in peace.
Okay. Thank you, Bwana.
Thank you, Hedimul, for this opportunity. Allow me to salute viewers wherever they are watching this morning show from. And on the sad deaths that has rooted our two good friends, the member for Malamba and the member for Baringo. I would say that it's unfortunate that the death comes, and the death has no mercy. Because when it decides that it has to go with you, then it takes all that it takes to carry you away. I will take this opportunity also to give my tribute and condolence to the family and the friends and the whole entire constituency of Maraba, having lost their member of parliament, who has served them for this was his third term, and having given third term, that is not a simple matter. It means that that particular member was a worker, because I am sure that in fact having been awarded 3 terms, it means you are doing what your constituents are desiring to. Also, let me take this opportunity to give my tribute and condolence to my good friend, Senator Cheptumo. Cheptumo, I served with him 2 terms. He was a third timer in Parliament, and he also made it to Senate to serve his first term in Senate. And this tells you he's a man of great record, which has made him to survive in politics for 4 terms consecutively. And therefore, I would say I will stand with the people of Baringo in this brief moment that they are angering on how to settle down. But I will particularly take my condolences to the family and the friends, and also the entire the county of Baringo. We have lost 2 good friends who are serious men even in the floor of the house, and who had contributed a lot in the 3 previous parliaments. Thank you. God created man, and therefore he has every say to the departure of a man.
Oh yes, indeed. News of the passing on of Moses Malulu Njendi reached our newsrooms yesterday evening. The MP for Malava. Incidentally, it was double tragedy for the family, the Njendi family, which had lost Malulu Njendi's elder brother just a day before. His name is Samuel Njendi. So double tragedy for the Njendi family, and our hearts go out to them. Also, for the Houses of Parliament, both the Senate and the National Assembly, that are in mourning following the deaths of Moses Malulu Njendi, MP Malava, and William Cheptumo, Senator Baringo, who has also served as MP of Baringo North in the National Assembly. So we'll continue giving you updates on what transpires in as far as the news of transition is concerned. Now back to the main headline today, and it has to do with Raila Odinga across all our major dailies. On the Star, they talk about how Arab states and France ganged up against Raila Odinga. This is very much like the headlines yesterday on Monday, where many headlines were focusing on who is to blame for Raila Odinga's loss. Many of the other papers appear to have moved on, especially on the Standard. It talks about taming Raila back home, and on the People Daily how many allies now want Raila Odinga to become Prime Minister. But let's start from that blame angle. On the Star, they talk about how Arab states and France ganged up against Raila Odinga. Yesterday, we saw the dailies blaming President William Ruto for what they called missteps, diplomatic mishaps that may have led to that loss. Some even blamed former President Uhuru Kenyatta, accusing him of even showing up at night in Addis Ababa. Bwana Manduku, when it comes to blame games, because definitely that is part of a healing process, where do you think the blame lies?
Thank you, Fred. I think looking at the election results and looking at the previous performance of Kenyan diplomats and Kenyan-sponsored candidates in other elections, it is obviously clear that the main problem with the African Union Commission elections is the way the elections are structured. We can blame each other from today until tomorrow. But the fact that we have a divide of the Anglophone versus Francophone, the fact that we have a definition on Arab states and non-Arab states, the fact that members can belong to the East African community and at the same time belong to the SADC, which are economic blocs. Egypt can belong to COMESA and belong to North Africa. It is those structural problems that are inherent, and it is very difficult for a Kenyan or an East African who is not French-speaking and not Arab to ever win this election. Former Minister Mukisa Kitui put it very well. The problem with the African Union is structural complexities in the system. Of course, we'll blame everyone else, but I can tell you that our President, William Ruto, really went out of his way to ensure that he personally campaigned for our candidate, Raila Odinga. I can assure you that Prime Cabinet Secretary Moses Mudavadi was all over trying to convince African heads of states that we had a good candidate. And I can tell you, even if Raila Odinga is our party leader, he was the best candidate for this seat. Okay. But it is just the nature of life. Okay. It is like when you run, for example, you run in Kisumu town and you have an ODM ticket, and another guy runs in the same constituency with a UDA ticket. You know, the election is already decided. Same thing with this election.
And allow me to correct you there. You referred to the Prime Cabinet Secretary as Moses.
Sorry.
I think Moses was the father.
The father, yes, sorry.
Yes, this is Musalia, Wycliffe Musalia.
Wycliffe Mudavadi, yes.
Thank you for that. And now, yes, and you mentioned correctly that there's a chronology of our failures on international scene when we try to go for these big seats. Definitely, we should have learned something by now, Bwana Mutambu, when it comes to dealing with such organizations, the WTO, the AU. We've not been successful. You prophesied that things would go the way they have. Did you see this, that probably we did not read the room from the word go, that we did not stand a realistic chance?
When we sat here some couple months ago, and you asked that question, and we put it very clear that we are not seeing any chances for Raila winning AU, not only Raila, any other person, right, from either Kenya or from East Africa. We were guided by simple facts on the pattern of voting. So when it comes to who to blame, I would say both the candidate and the sponsor, because they did not read the signs. And what we saw, we advised them here, but they ignored our advice. I wish somebody could have lifted their phone and asked me, Mutambu, why are you saying Raila will not win? And I would have given them the facts. So the question is, was it worth trying? Are we trying because we are a country and we want to carry the name that we vied, or we are going for that seat to win? So once you do your calculation and you see you cannot win, why enter the race? it is just a waste of resources and time. There is also a belief that this thing was being headed by President Ruto, and Ruto is a master of everything, and they can't lose because Ruto will do some magic here and there. But the truth of the matter is, we have a realignment of countries. They have their own organizations. And where do we belong as Kenya? What stopped us from joining SADC when Tanzania was joining? Why? We missed before because we only belong to East Africa Community and COMESA. I think we are part of COMESA. But this is a replica of what is happening even in our own country. And I say this with a lot of experience and with a lot of respect to our communities. The areas matters a lot when it comes to decision making. And I will give you a very good example of Kitui County. Kitui County consists of Kitui County, part of Kitui, we call it Larger Kitui and Larger Mwingi. The numbers in Larger Mwingi are less than the numbers of Kitui, Larger Kitui. That means nobody from Mwingi, Larger Mwingi, will ever become a governor of Kitui. Never, ever, ever. And that is how it is. And it will remain like that. And once you know that, and you come from Mwingi, it will be a waste of time for you trying to be a governor of Kitui. Because people of Kitui will not vote for Mwingi. And if some will vote for people of Mwingi, the question will remain, how many? So this is the same thing. How many Francophone countries will vote for Raila? So the numbers will not matter. When you look at the way the election was structured and the candidates who are there, the two candidates who are members of Francophone and Arab-speaking countries, they carried the big number.
Are you saying it was a bit naive for us to imagine that candidates from Kenya would win? Is that what you're saying? That
I'm afraid to say so, but that's the correct position.
Okay.
We never learn, because we could see the losing trend from, I don't know, 2017? We've been losing. Any position we vie for. What we get is what is a rotational. We become a chairman of maybe East Africa Community because it's rotational. We can become chairman of, I don't know what, because the rules are different. It's rotational. We came from this one, so the next is this. So there is no effort there. Right. But where we are putting effort, and we also, we cannot ignore our diplomatic stature as a country. How are we relating with other people? How are we relating with other nations? How is our diplomatic corps doing? Are we doing well when it comes to matters of diplomatic issues in our neighboring countries? Are we treating them? Do we make them happy? We said there will be countries very close to us who will not vote for us. I said it here. And that has happened because we know how we relate with them.
Okay.
And
talking about the region, if my director can help me with the collage we have of the regional papers, because they also make mention of this story on the front pages today. That's how interesting this story is, especially for the region. And if I can look at some of the papers, I think the Daily, is it the New Vision? The New Vision has a question there on the front page, bottom right-hand corner. If we could get it on this screen, probably I could be able to read it. And it talks about, it asks the question, did the DRC crisis affect Raila Odinga's performance? Did it cost him that? On the Mwananchi, gazeti la kule Tanzania, pale juu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wanasema Rais Ruto alaumiwa kwa the loss that Raila Odinga suffered in the AU. Bwana Gakuya, definitely people will want to blame everyone. Raila Odinga himself has said, please don't blame President Ruto. He has done the best he could. Who should we blame, if at all someone needs to be blamed?
Edemode, my view is it will be a bit different from what the panelist is analyzing. Because it's not only Kenya which lost. let us note that we had 3 candidates, and whole of the 3 candidates, none of them we could wish out. There is a candidate who is a Madagascar candidate whom I could not have expected that he's going to garner a single vote, because he was nowhere, even in the highlights of the candidates that had a hope to clean that particular position. And I don't think that actually we can blame ourselves wholly, that we could have stepped out of this particular competition, because right from the beginning we knew that we are going to fall. It is important to try, because it is through try when you can also get an opportunity. And at every single competition, even whether it's a football, there has to be a winner at the end of the day. And if I can take now the difference margin of the candidate, our candidate and Djibouti candidate, the margin was 4 votes. That means if you could have done it more better, and especially, let us note that Raila in the first round he won, because he garnered 20 votes, and Djibouti garnered 18, and when Madagascar garnered 10. But the game changed when the Madagascar candidate then was dropped. That's where we could have done a lot of mechanism to woo those countries who supported the Madagascar candidate, because we realized that in fact majority of the Madagascar supporters moved with the Djibouti. The chronology there, I could not understand it very well. How, because you realize that the farm 20 countries that supported with Raila moved with him to the 6th round, until the 6th round. He never lost a single out of the 20. He was losing the 2 and 1 at some time, but the solid 20, he was able to finish the race with the solid 20. Then plus 2 at his 6th round. And this, to me, if there could be a more better plan to the fallout of those countries that were in support of Madagascar, if we could be able to split that number, probably we could win this battle. Because the lose with the 4 votes, to me, it was a very poor performance to me. But the problem here is that, in fact, the resources has been spent, and probably we may require to have an accountability of the same resources. We need to know whether these were taxpayers' money, because as a parliament, we never approved a budget for that particular exercise. We need to understand where these resources were coming from. We have no problem if the resources were donor funds. I have no problem with that, but let us be very clear and Kenya understand who was funding this particular exercise, and let the record be very clear. And if it is taxpayers' money, let us get to know who authorized the expenditure of such money without an approval of the House. Okay. And finally, let me also state that let us also say we know dynamics, because we are not a first contender for that particular position. We must have learned, and we have a knowledge of how these French countries has been performing, how SADC does, and all those mechanisms. And I don't know how we moved Africa to this kind of clusters. Probably we need to look and find how we can lock ourselves out of this, because those clusters, to me, they may not be very healthy, and even in the future.
You said something interesting, that it's good to try. It's only in trying that you can find out whether you are capable of doing it. But looking at the chronology of our losses at that level, on the front page of the Daily Nation, I would tend to agree with the other 2 gentlemen that probably we had no business trying out this time round. Are you saying your feeling is different, that probably in future we might win?
No.
And what will we require for us?
In fact, Dimuri, in this game, you can only be able to measure yourself once you are in the trial. When you are out of the trial, how can you measure yourself? at the tail end of this particular exercise, we have mentioned ourselves. In this case, even though it is not very known, because these votes were casted on a secret ballot, but Raila Odinga knows who those stood with him. Yes, but what we need to do is to know where did we got lost and how can we be able to...
But we've lost before with Amina Mohammed in 2017, surely.
That's fine, but it does not mean that in fact because we have lost with Amina and we have now lost with Raila, that we skip completely out of these exercises. Because this particular position belongs to any single African country. And therefore, what we should do is to know our weaknesses and capitalize on building our weakness to our strength for the second, for future kind of competition. Okay. But in fact, at the end of the day, the problem here is that we don't have any mendo for the second findo. It's only a mendo for the winner. And that's the only mistake that in this particular exercise.
All right. When Amanduku, you saw that question on the front page of the New Vision, which is a Ugandan paper, asking whether or not the DRC crisis may have led to whatever extent to that loss.
Obviously, many diplomats are saying that the crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and to a large extent, our perceived alignment with one of the belligerents, Rwanda, may have contributed. Because you remember, there was a tiff between President Kagame of Rwanda and President Ramaphosa of South Africa. It is possible that the SADC countries, at the instigation of South Africa, decided not to vote for a candidate. There is also another theory that our recognition of Israel and our we are not making noise about what's happening in Hamas and all those things in Gaza. We are perceived to be pro-Israel. That could cost us, obviously, all the Muslim vote. But as Gakuya said, Honorable Gakuya said, many of the problems in Africa are largely attributed to our colonial history, that we are divided along Francophone and Anglophone, and that will never go away. The French have a way of being together, and it comes from the French colonization believed in assimilation. And so if you remember your history very well, you became a French citizen by virtue of being colonized by France. And that glue has still holds them together. They love their language. They listen to the president of France, Macron. And so he will decide very many kilometers away that Africa should go this way. And that is why you see even the presidency of the African Development Bank is always a very tough fight between the Anglophone and the Francophone. And they seem to be more, together. The French-speaking countries are always together. They stick together. And because of that, they're able to divide we Anglophones. But then I think it is something we must relook at as Africa, so that in the future, we're able to be a chairman from any of the countries. And don't forget that when you're a big brother like Kenya, you also have enemies, mainly out of jealousy, You don't want a big brother to lord over you. It is possible that could have led to the downfall of our candidate.
Yeah, but when it comes to diplomacy, many have said that President William Ruto has had too many fumbles that probably contributed to a huge extent. Key among them, the pronouncement that he had actually had a conversation with President Macron on the DRC crisis. Do you think that, yes, that could, to some extent, probably our president is too talkative? Much for diplomacy?
100%. The diplomacy, the underling of our diplomacy is also a main contributor. As much as we are talking the Anglophone and the Francophone and Muslims, it depends on how we handle our neighbors and those who are not also our neighbors. It depends on how a state relates itself and how we dive into matters of other nations. And to be frank with you, and I'm not saying that Ruto is a bad person diplomatically, but we have goofed in some areas. When you look at Congo, DRC Congo has been our highlight, and actually part of their economic success comes from Kenya. And we feed them with everything. They get everything from Kenya. So they are our highlight, Congo. But when it came to this particular exercise, there are some aspects which they had some reservation. And one of them is when Tshisekedi was re-elected, okay? The current regime was not supporting it, despite our former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was and he is up to today a good friend and supporter of Felix, right? So our former regime was, and it was visibly, and the way the pronouncements were being made and how our president interacted. There is also the issue of issuing some statement as a nation when other nations have conflict. The good thing is that you keep quiet so that you are not seeing which direction you are going. Because when we made a statement on the issue of Hamas and how Israel handled their matters, our true colors were seen by the Arab or by Muslim countries. And there are many, including Somalia here, the Arab states. So we ought to relook our relationship with other nations. And when a regime is in power, how do you relate yourself with other nations? And that's why you see many of attempts, okay, especially now. And even Kenyans felt, no, this position, we may not get it. And they were not doing it because Raila is a very good person. And actually, I supported him in my heart. But I saw out there, he has nothing. He could not manage. These 20 countries which supported Raila all through, they had a reason why they did so. And those who never supported him, they had a reason. And that's what I'm saying. When we forecast or when we saw Raila losing, it's because we counted the countries which will be against us. And the number which we saw then is exactly the number which went against Raila, either through the two candidates or after merging, either through whatever means. But we saw it. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of ignorance in Kenya. Prophets are not recognized or respected in Kenya. And if one takes a moment and asks Kagwe, why are you thinking so? Maybe you could learn something out of it, and then they handle things better. Maybe you could have told Ruto, the reason why I feel we are not going to get a vote from Congo is because of this and this. Can you correct? And then maybe he sent an apology, and he made those fences. But they concentrated on, just thumping, we can do this, we'll get this president here, and another one, we'll host them for dinner here and there. Yeah, that may be the way to do it. But when somebody has something in their heart and you don't talk to them, tomorrow they will not be on your side.
Right. So yes, that is as far as the blame game continues, and many questions people asking, who's to blame for the Raila Odinga's AUC chairperson's election loss? But now we are beyond that. The blame game will not give us anything. Now we have a new problem. And the headlines would have been very different if at all the elections went the other way and Raila would have won. But now we're talking about, on the Standard, taming Raila Odinga. Now this has become a local problem. Now we need to tame Raila Odinga. According to the Standard, even before the dust has settled on Raila Odinga's loss in the African Union race, a push for his appointment as Prime Minister is gaining momentum. Proponents want President Ruto to implement the NATO report, creating the position in the Constitution. Raila's decision could reshape the political landscape ahead of 2027. The question everyone is asking is, what next for Raila? And I'm sure President William Ruto and his allies will be very keen on containing it. So this, do you agree that this headline, Taming Raila, is an apt one for this time?
Thank you, Dimori. First and foremost, let me just make my last comment on what transpired. And I would say it could be more better if Raila took this campaign on his own. But at some point, it appeared as if it's William Ruto's project. And in terms of that element of diplomacy you have alluded to, probably we have done dismally on that particular aspect. And that's why I would think that Raila could have done better if he was found not a push candidate by the head of state. If he was if he managed this particular campaign on his own, but that most likely could not be possible due to resources, because it was a state project. And coming to the big headlines in our standard paper, it is true. Raila has to be contained, and you cannot leave Raila without any consideration of comfort, political comfort, and get assured of peace. Raila is capable of getting back to streets. Raila is capable of telling his supporters to take Sufuria back to the head, and is capable of dramatizing anything. So a wise president is a president who will not ignore that element and make sure that he fix Raila somewhere, that he can be able to take the rest of 2.5 years in comfort zone. This is one. There's a clamor in the House, and this clamor is about matters to do with the last court decision on majority and minority. If we want to sit down that clamor, then the state has to do something. And even though it will still go by the determination of the speaker that the Kenya Kwanza is still the majority, they have to do something. Only organizations of committee chairmen, yes, and at least offer something to the.
I've seen a headline with exactly that. It says Ruto yields to Raila in deal on leadership of key House panels. So they say President William Ruto and Raila Odinga have struck a deal on sharing of National Assembly Committee leadership posts to avoid paralysis in the House following a divisive ruling on which side is a majority. But is this enough?
No, that's not enough. That is to comfort the members, what we call ODM membership. This is Junet and the team, to make sure that there is a comfort there. You know, there was a clamor that in fact there is a broad-based outside, but that broad, it is broad in the House but not based. So something has to be done to make it based. And the other thing is that you realize also William was wise enough. He did what we call interviews of the PSs. But he never appointed them. Then this is time to do that, because casualties, the casualty now has to be given a portion now, so that also to comfort. I'm sure that in fact Raila will benefit a lot in the new lineup of PSs. That's another. And also at large, the state appointments. This is including what we call ambassadorial positions. And this particular case, Raila is still a very young girl that actually the head of state will be demanding to. Note that in fact, the head of state has no choice. Either he built a new friendship with his former deputy president, or else he keep Raila in his chest. Otherwise, political survival, and especially in his re-election, he has no choice. He has to bite the bullet.
Does that come at a risk that probably he now, as you say, the president doesn't have much of a choice? But giving in to Raila Odinga's demands a bit too much could leave the president in a very weaker position, much weaker position.
The president has no choice. If Raila will demand for prime minister, it will be given. Because the head of state will just weigh the value of Mudavadi and the value of Raila in vis-a-vis vote block. That is his first arithmetic. If Raila will demand for Kidiki's position, the deputy president, Raila will have no shot but to sacrifice, because he will look for the bigger picture. Because today, if that particular relationship breaks, then he has no hope of his future politics.
And Raila Odinga knows this, that he's in a very good position to demand for a lot of things right now.
Fred, Chino Achebe would say that Raila has the knife and the yam. And I want to pick it from where Honorable Gakuya has left. Last week, on the floor of the House, our minority whip, Millie Odhiambo, talked about this arrangement being based. What we are asking for is nusu mkate. We are not pretending about anything. And I'm not speaking for the party, but I'm telling you what we want. We want half the cabinet positions. We want half the principal secretary positions. And we will support William Ruto to 2027 and beyond. That is the arrangement that we are going for.
What about Speaker of the National Assembly?
We have no problem with the Speaker of the National Assembly. In fact, to be honest with you, and I'm sorry to discuss my speaker here, Speaker Wetangula has done his work very well. Never mind the ruling that he gave, which we may not agree with. But it is in line with the powers that is bestowed upon that seat. In fact, as per the standing orders, the Speaker has the power to rule on anything. Speaker Moses Wetangula also is a very fair person. And I don't think members would want to see him out. I can tell you that, whether in a minority side or majority side. But what we want is to be best in government, and how best? Half the positions.
In cabinet.
Cabinet and state appointments. So that our party leader, Raila Odinga, can give us direction, and we continue supporting the president. The truth of the matter is that Honorable Gakuya and his allies left the president. So we want to fill that void and sit in government squarely. We don't want 2-3 positions. No, we want half. Nusu mkate. That is how it is. And I'm not speaking for the party. I'm just telling you what we want as members. I can see already there's some good move in a sharing of the House leadership positions. But we still want more. We have got about 18 departmental committees. They're giving us 5. We want 9. That is what we want.
Split right in the middle.
Yes.
Mutambo.
You know, I don't know where we are heading to. Because this kind of, and Madugu will excuse my language, this kind of selfishness is killing our nation. I feel for Ruto, because it is not only Raila who is supporting him. He has other coalitions. So when one of the coalition takes 50%, Ruto is remaining with 50%. What will he do with the others? So they will also, at the end of the day, Ruto will remain with nothing. Is that possible? I don't think whether it is possible. That will cause a lot of chaos in our country.
It's pound of
Fred, tell my colleague here that politics is not a love affair. It is about serving the interests of our people.
And power is taken.
And power is taken. And now we are at a good place to negotiate.
You cannot serve only your people and you leave others.
But you see,
the essence,
when Raila Odinga gets half the positions, he also distributes them across the country. He does not give them to one region. Raila Odinga has a support base everywhere in this country.
Okay.
And he'll distribute them evenly.
Okay.
Even every leader there has a support base everywhere, right? Has a support base everywhere. But when we go that route, it will create a very bad precedent to the nation. And people will feel that Raila is selfish. I will not go that direction. And if that is what I want, I would not put it publicly, because it is giving Raila a very bad picture against others. So it will be Kenya against Raila going forward.
That feeling was already there even among the Gen Z.
Yes.
That they did not even support his bid for...
Correct. And we would not want to support that narrative, because it is not good politically for Raila. And I think, Muli, if you go back to your records, what we are seeing today, if you go back to your records and our discussion here, I said it once here, that Honorable Ruto is breathing politically because of Raila. The time Kaguya was kicked out, I mean, Gachagua, Kamulema man, When he was kicked out, I said the only other option, the only other leg which is standing now for Ruto is Raila. And today, everything is coming out what I said. The other debate we had here last Tuesday, we had a gentleman here from, I don't know, Mheshimiwa, I don't know for where. And we were talking about Taming Raila. That Raila was given this position to tame him, to have him close. It was for political reason. When he lost this, that's why everybody is now running. What else can we give Raila to have him close to us? And that's why you see now the narrative of Prime Minister is coming. That's why you see we want to implement NATCO. We want to do this. Why are we bringing these issues today? Because Raila lost. And it is very important to have Raila with Ruto so that Ruto can survive politically. Otherwise, go Raila, go Gachagua, no Ruto. That is, it is as simple as that. Go Gachagua, go Raila, no Ruto. Ruto will not become the president come 2022 without those two, one of those two gentlemen. If he loses both of them, he has lost the election. And that is the fear. And now, because of that, that's why they are holding Ruto hostage. And they are saying, because now, and you see these people, they were accusing Gachagua of being tribalism or demanding more for his people or for his region. Now it is very clear. Because now we have grabbed you somewhere, I don't want to say that word, we have grabbed you somewhere, we need half of your government. And because those things are squeezed and the pain is there, he may have no option but to give half of the government and to give the position like the way Mheshimiwa is alluding to, the way they want. Because what else can you do? If these guys go, then you have nothing come 2027. And there's no other arithmetics going around. Everybody is thinking about, and it's very unfortunate, because now the issue of serving Kenyans is no longer there. We are out there. I'm a politician. I'm out there. I know how many calls I'm getting left, right, and center on the issue of who to join, who, what to do, and all those kind of things. So today, Honorable Ruto is at a corner. Because the person he thought that he will win, and now out of that gets automatic support from the region, he has lost. Now, there's two issues here. Raila can decide that I'm going to fight. And for your information, and as you call me prophet, and you'll see this happening, Raila will fight 2027. And that will now mess the equation of Ruto. Because the support he could have gotten from Raila, it will be split into two. And that's the same thing which happened in 2007 when Kibaki needed support of Kalonzo. And Kalonzo decided to go katikati between them. What happened? Kalonzo got the 700, 600, 800 votes, which could have helped Kibaki win the election. And in that regard, Kibaki never won. He had to show himself at night, whether you like it or not, because he never won. Okay? The same thing will happen. If Raila goes away today, Ruto will not win unless he swears himself at night like Kibaki. Right. Yes.
There's the other side, and kiangazia gazeti la Taifa Leo inasema Raila ang'ang'aniwa. Na kwa upande moja kuna Rais William Ruto, upande mwingine kuna Rigathi Gachagua. That Raila Odinga's move, whichever side he decided to look or to turn to, that could actually be the winning ticket come 2027. Do you agree that even the former deputy president would be very much interested in working with Raila Odinga this time?
Idimori, what I would be very categorical on in this particular morning show is that today, if you put two choices on the table, one, you put power and resources, either you take power. And it will be very tricky when Raila is back here. And I can tell you, if
resources is which direction?
No, what I'm saying is package.
Okay.
You know, resources means everything. Package.
Even the Prime Minister's position. That's
of course, all that. And I can tell you for sure, all these other things can work well. But what do you give Baba as an individual? because you may give him PSs, CSs and everything. What about himself? He was moving to AU so that he can work as a chair of the AU. So here, locally, what are you going to give him? What kind of carrot is he going to take home? And in this case, because all these arithmetics are focusing on re-election machinery of the head of state, the current head of state. And that is the reason why it will be very costly for him, because he must win Raila and keep Raila. The other thing is that the other team on the other end, they understand also the Raila's desire. And at a point, if they can stand and think, how can we destroy William? Why can't we poach Raila? Why can't we make him the king? Because among the two choices, there's no way that Ruto can sacrifice his position for the presidency to Raila. But this team can lose nothing. They can sacrifice the position to Raila Odinga. And that will become the end of the bombshell.
Wow.
Yes. So it is tricky ahead.
It sounds more enticing that Raila going for presidency as opposed to a comfortable prime minister's position.
I think, Fred, we still have time. And for now, in the interim, as we plan for 2027 and beyond, we want to work with the President, William Ruto. When the time comes in 2027, and depending on our party leader's direction, and if he wants to run, then we will support him, obviously. But as of now, we still think that we want to support the government, but with those conditions that I've given, that we must be inside.
It is time to resource.
Without guarantees.
Not from outside.
Without guarantees for 2027.
Yeah, there's no guarantee in politics. Who tells you that we'll even reach there? You never know. But we want to be inside the government, properly, based. And that is what we talked about. That we must feel that we are inside, not peripheral. Are
you saying there will be consequences and immediate consequences, therefore, if President William Ruto does not give in to those demands for...
Of course. We will not support his agenda if he doesn't give in to what our party leader wants. That is our position.
He's already given in to a
we want
huge
more.
extent.
We want more. What you're saying, we want more.
If he does not get to Nusumkate, then there will be immediate consequences.
Obviously.
Wow.
That is not the party position, but that is what we are saying.
But it's not the party position.
I disagree with Maduku on one aspect, and I also disagree with the Mheshimiwa here on the other. About Manduku, I disagree with him saying that if we don't get this, we will not do. I want to put this record straight, that even if they get, okay, they will get, yes. But even if they get, Raila will go his way. And it is not the first time. Go back to history. He has done it with Moi. He was even made the Secretary General of KANU. He was given the most powerful seat in the cabinet, all right? But what did he do? At the end, he went against Moi. Kibaki came in. They even got that in Nusumkate. Okay, it is in record. He got it. What happened after getting in Nusumkate? He went his way. Uhuru came. Okay? They shook hands. What happened? Now here it's Ruto. It will be the same thing, all right? What I disagree with him is that the way Kenyans, including me, know Raila. Raila is not a selfish person, okay? Raila will not say, if I am not this, my people will not come in. Raila will say, if you take my people, I am comfortable. That is Raila for you. And I want to compare Raila with my senior, Kalonzo Musyoka. If you are not giving Kalonzo Musyoka a position, he is not taking part of government. Okay? Because we were there. We negotiated with Uhuru, 2013. And he was given 33% of government. But not president and not deputy president. He refused.
His position was as an individual.
Yes. He said, if I'm not getting president or deputy, I don't want the 33%. So which is bigger? That one position or the 33% of government? What could have made then is that he would get, if the ministers are 30% of that, the PSs 30% of what Madugu and Gawia are alluding to. But Kalonzo refused. I was there. I'm not giving you stories which I had. I was seated there when the offer came on the table. Take that 3% and we'll get another position of either speaker or another position for you, but the two are gone. He said, no. Actually, I don't want to talk that story here because it's so sad, the way he replied to those two gentlemen. And because it's in public domain, I can just mention a bit. He told them, you know, the only thing I can do for you is that I can, as a lawyer, I'll negotiate for you. You be jailed for 10 years. And when you finish 10 years, I would have finished my 10 years. So that complicated everything until today. And those memories are still with Uhuru and Ruto in there. And that's how they perceive Kalonzo. So Raila will not do that. Raila will say, even if you make me a sweeper and you give me 10 or 15 or 30% of my government and have my people in position, I'm okay, I'll support you. So that is the only part I'm differing with him, because I know Raila and I've seen how he works, and he's a man of people. That's why he's people's president. So he's not selfish.
He has turned 80 this year. In 2027, he'll be 82,
yes,
heading to 83.
Yes.
Do you think it is still viable for him to run for presidency at that age?
Even if he will not be able to walk and you are pushing him with wheelbarrow, so long as he can say, yeah, Raila will be there. Take it from me. He will fight. And that is his business. Raila, his business is politics. So you are telling him not to fight to do what? And the top-notch, I mean, the peak of politics is going for the higher seat. All right? I would also aspire to be the president. As much as I'm struggling in my constituency, that I would aspire to be a president. And it is the aspiration of any politician to succeed and to move forward and to go to the next level. And that is what's happening. And I have no problem with that, because that is the way it's supposed to be. So Raila will be there. So the big question and the fight is, if Raila vies, what are the consequences?
Okay.
And everybody is afraid, and not everybody, actually one man who is afraid of the consequences, because Raila will take away a portion of what could have gone to Ruto, and the other team will walk freely straight to march to the State House easily.
Are we saying, Bwana that if Raila decides to stick with William Ruto, then it's a done deal for the other guys, that no need to try it out in 2027, it will be a done deal?
In fact, Idimoli, in what we call political perception, that could be the most outright answer. But politically, this is what is going to happen. That there are those blocks that are purported to be Raila Odinga blocks, which can only start with him when he's in the ballot. Mm-hmm. This is one Western region. That region, without Raila in the ballot, they have a different they will have a different opinion on where those fellowship of Raila will move to. And at this particular time, we have had them clamoring of coming to a point on where they should forget about proxies, and they negotiate. They move to the table on their own. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the narratives that might also change the Western region narrative. The next one is Ruo Nyaza, where Raila comes from. He will not be able to command the whole community to one basket this time round if he's not in the ballot. There are those who will be dissenting, and this is not going to be less than 20%. Mm-hmm. Those they will decide they will be dependent and move on their own. The other block is Kisii in that rural nation, Nyaza land. Kisii for this time round, in fact, they may be dependent in their political decision. And this will determine if Baba is not in the ballot, most likely they may not move to that direction. Whether Baba will push them to that direction, they may resist. That's a block that I am very sure, including Nairobi, this capital city. Raila has been enjoying almost between 700 to 800,000 votes In his absence in the ballot, count that number dropping almost half or even more than half. Okay. And that will be the reality. Right. So the mathematics are not real at the end. And I can tell you, Kenyans, there is another block, which is Gen Z block, which is youth. And youth will be a crossboard, and they will be having no control over that constituency.
Okay. Bwana Manduku, you must agree that yes, there are so many politicians whose careers are totally dependent on Raila Odinga and probably Raila Odinga's quest for presidency, that whenever he runs, as Bwana Gakuya says, then they are guaranteed of their own success as long as they stick with Raila Odinga and his party. If he is not in the ballot, because now we're looking at William Ruto being re-elected, then these careers will be in jeopardy. These are the same people you're saying are demanding for half.
Fred, I want to slightly disagree with my colleague, Honorable Gakuya, and remind him of the year 2002, when Raila Odinga was not on the ballot. But all his supporters, in fact, to a man, at his direction, supported the late President Mwai Kibaki. Whether Raila is on the ballot or not, his support base listens to him. In fact, in the coming election, if he's not on the ballot, then he'll be the perfect kingmaker. He need not be in the ballot for some people to survive politically. But most of them, yes, ride on the wave and on the fact that he has endorsed them. In fact, Raila Odinga came to my constituency when I was running, and he raised my hand and said, "Huyu ni kijana yangu," and I was guaranteed a win. Mm-hmm. So what Honorable Gakuya is saying is true to some extent, but that applies mainly in Nairobi and in Nyanza. But don't forget that even in the coast, whether he's on the ballot or not, Raila Odinga still has a very big sway. He will determine who we support. And I don't want to say that we are cows, but we listen to him and we don't question. And we are loyal to him. But all indications so far are that he wants us to work with the president. Okay. And that is how we are going to do it.
All right. Let's take a short break. I will be back to continue this conversation. Indeed, it is all we are talking about today. Raila Odinga, what next?
Is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see there.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV47 as we continue looking at the headlines today, and there's no bigger headline than Raila Odinga. What next? Everyone is keen on how to tame or how to marshal that or direct the force that Raila Odinga is towards 2027. So we're looking at the possibility of Raila Odinga supporting President William Ruto but not necessarily being on the ballot, vis-a-vis him being on the ballot. And which one is more effective politically for Kenya in as far as moving his support base? Is with Raila Odinga on the ballot or him just supporting William Ruto but from the behind the scenes?
You know, like I've told you, that I know Raila. Raila will go with the masses. Raila will go for the interest of Kenyans. And at this point, you'll ask himself, what is the interest of Kenya? For today, he's closing his eyes and ears, he's not listening and he's not seeing, because he wants to be in the government, because there is a government in power. So he wants to be there. So in that case, he will not hear and he will not see. Okay? See no what? No evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. He is not going to do that for now. Until 2026, somewhere there, is when we will see his true colors. Because Raila is not going to introduce himself to Kenyans. Those people who are introducing themselves to Kenyans and that they want seats, Kina Maduga and Motambu, we are the one making noise. But Raila needs no introduction. Okay? So the question will be, and that question will be asked by so many people, those who are trying to run will have Murimaman, will have Kalonzo, will have Matiang'i, will have Raila, will have all those people sit together and ask themselves, who is our common enemy here? Okay? And if one person becomes the common enemy of everybody and also a common enemy to Kenyans, because Ruto has failed to prove himself as a friend to Kenyans. Today, and you know it's good to speak the truth, because me, I always say it, not because I want to be a sycophant, but I say as it is. If you want to take my advice, you take and correct.
Through the woman.
And you move forward. Today, the enemy of Kenyans is one. Every Kenyan you talk to, apart from those who are eating, like Maduku, who are there, very close. We are getting this, we are getting that. But those who are not getting nothing, and those who are suffering, they have become enemy of one man. And if Raila looked at it and sees all the Kenyans are on this side, trust you me, Raila will go there. And these people will ask themselves, now among ourselves, who's the lesser evil? What is the best for Kenyan today? Okay? Is it worth for all of us to vie and again lose to this man, or is it important for us to come together and see how, first and foremost, slay the dragon, the enemy of Kenyans? How do we do it? So they will come up with one person, either Raila. If Raila will be the best choice for all of them, they will go for him. If Gachagua is the best, if Kalonzo is the best, is whoever, they'll come with one person. And that one person, trust you me, if this team comes together, that person will win next election. However, there are some issues there I'm seeing. I'm seeing two problems. Problem number one is these guys, okay? They have something in their heart and mind and their blood, which is against Raila. How they will wash that, I don't know. Then there's another person who comes from where I come from, although a bit far, in the Sekuru area. That person will come and say, if it is not me, forget about the 2 million from Okambani. And that will spoil the equation. And the way I look at it, and I want to tell Kambas and the rest of Kenyans, if things don't go well for Kalonzo in this coalition, and I'm not speaking for him, and I'm not his spokesman, but I'm speaking based on the understanding or the knowledge I have or how I know him. If things are not good, if he gets disappointed, he's a very funny character. It's like, you know, those beetles. Sometimes if the cold is too much, they jump into the fire. They want to get the warmth inside the fire, not knowing that they're going to get burned. The fella will join Ruto. Mm-hmm. If things don't go the way Kalonzo wants, in this other area. I'm seeing Kalonzo in Ruto's camp.
You've been branded a prophet before. Are you saying that, should we quote this?
You can quote it. if things don't go well for Kalonzo, I'm seeing him. Don't forget, today he's being called Ndengu man, whatever. He will not, those things will not suffice. He will just jump to Ruto immediately when he sees things are not going well. And Ruto comes and tells him, brother, in Christianity we are brothers, we hold the Bible, I hold the Bible, come become this for me. Ruto will be there, Kalonzo will be there tomorrow. And all campus, it doesn't matter what they feel about Ruto. Today we are telling them about Ruto, they don't want to hear. If Kalonzo turns tomorrow, all the campus will be there.
Right. But that presents a problem, and probably this is something that many leaders or many even other administrations have foreseen. Hence, they saw the necessity of the BBI. That if at all these leaders who have a common goal decide to coalesce together, then after a successful election, there'll be a challenge in accommodating all of them. Now, those talks have started re-emerging again, talking about the positions of Prime Minister and other positions going forward. Do you think it is time that we reconsider some of those suggestions contained in the BBI? Some of them are in NADCO report. It's the same thing we're talking about.
Now, Edimori, what I would say on that particular aspect, taking the threshold that actually gives any Kenyan presidential candidate a win is too high, which is 50+1. And it is an equation that no single candidate can be able to win from a single region. And in this case, therefore, an element of coalition will be ever been there. And there is no way that you'll be able to have coalition partners without positions also to offer to them. And in this case, I would say, it is not anyhow wrong to implement or enforce to have that expanded executive where that position of Prime Minister can be now regularized in law and his two deputies, so that that office can create 3 more positions. And equally, where I am very concerned is to water down the position of deputy president. We don't require to have 2. We require to retain that structure of a president and deputy, the Prime Minister and his 2 deputies. That will carry at least a big number. Those other maybe coalition leaders can be sorted out on the manner that Wetangula was sorted and the manner that Kingi was sorted. And I think also in the element of the cabinet positions, there are also those very big positions like the position of the interior and others. Others can be also sorted from those areas. In that case, I think that expanded executive can cure, because in fact, it is not fair to be part of a coalition, fight to the end, and still you cannot have any carrot to take home.
Okay. On that issue of the BBI?
I want to agree to some large extent with the Honorable Gakuya that I think it is time we relooked at our executive with the sole aim of expanding it so that we can accommodate many interests. I am personally of the view that the Building Bridges Initiative report had very good elements. And we just need to go back to history and ask ourselves, which was the best performing government ever? And many people will agree that it was the government of Nusu Mkate.
The Grand Coalition.
The Grand Coalition government. In fact, it is often said that it did most of the cabinet, it implemented most of its cabinet resolutions. Why was that possible? It was possible because everyone felt that it was part and parcel of government. By having by having created a position of a prime minister and 2 deputy prime ministers, having an expanded executive in terms of that time, they were called ministers. And I think we are increasingly seeing that. If you ask anyone today, you'll find that people are more comfortable with having the likes of Honorable Oparanya, Honorable Joho, Mbandi, Opiwandai. They're more comfortable when they see them in those positions as opposed to those who are occupying them before. I have always advocated for myself, and not because I sit in parliament, but I've always thought that a parliamentary system of government is the best, so that the people you elect are also responsible for service delivery. For the simple reason that we are accountable. We are more accountable to the public other than someone who has been appointed, a minister who is accountable to the president. Never mind the story about oversight and all those stories. Those are just stories. What I think should work is implement aspects of the BBI report and implement the NADCO report to its fullest, with the sole aim of expanding the executive and making sure that every region in this country feels represented in government. Okay. Whether we call it a hybrid government, parliamentary, presidential, whatever, the basic is that people feel left out. And that is why, even after the election of William Ruto, you still find that half the country still feels left out. And you cannot ignore half this country. And it is perpetual, because even in the last election of 2017, still half the country felt left out. And that is why there was a famous handshake. And so to cure that problem, I think it is time we bite the bullet and expand the executive.
Is that the way to go, and do we have time? Because between now and 2027, the possibility of a referendum or the necessity of one is becoming so realistic. Do we have time for such kind of venture?
For the government, nothing is impossible. If the government truly wants to implement this, we may not need to go to referendum, because there are some sections of the Constitution which you can amend through Parliament. The moment you get to that, you are done. You don't require the referendum. There are others which you must have referendum. And I'm sure we are dealing with learned people who can know which route to take and what to do when it comes to that. But my issue is not only, my problem is not only accommodating certain people. It is making a law which will cure the problem we are having. Because tomorrow those people will not be there. And if we don't cure this problem, it will still persist. It will still be there. So we need to cure the problem, not to accommodate certain people. Today, the rush is to accommodate one man. Only one man. Today, the rush is to accommodate one man. The question is, if this man is not there, who will we be rushing to accommodate tomorrow? If we don't make a law which will fall in place, and in case of any such a scenario, we have a law to cure it. And I also want to agree with Mheshimiwa Madugu on the issue of parliamentary system. Because you see, the moment Madugu has been elected by people, he understands the need and the problem of the people on the ground. And once he's nominated or appointed as a minister, he will know how to answer to the people who elected him. Unlike somebody who has got no loyalty to Kenyans. He is only loyal to the person who elected, and they will not even go against the appointing authority. But here, this man has been appointed by thousands of Kenyans, okay? So he will have that feeling that I am serving the people of Kenya who elected me. And likewise, he will be serving Kenyans who also elected other leaders, and he knows their expectations. But somebody, academia comes with holding a briefcase of papers like this. I went to this school, I went there, I did this, but you never went to the people, and you don't understand the problem of people. You only understand when the pencil is not working. But you don't understand when somebody goes to bed without food, what it means. That is the problem we are having. We have had this system run with Uhuru for 10 years. We had problems. Now Ruto, 5 years going. Problems are still there. So it is high time now for us to amend this constitution, not only the BBI, but to amend the constitution so that we cure the problems once and for all, and Kenyans get better services. Because you would ask yourself, although this is something which is not on the table, but you would ask yourself, today there's a lot of hullabaloo of the aid which has been cut by the Americans. But we've been getting this donor fund since time immemorial. Why have we never come up and think outside the box? Because there's somebody who's helping you. One day that person will pull his hand back. What can we do over this issue? Have we ever come up with that solution? Zero. What is it that we can do as a country? What do we have as a country? What happened to that big noise, and Maduku maybe can tell us, of tallow oil? What happened? And why the silence? All those things we need to ask ourselves so that we can build our country. But do we see these now technocrats, the high-ranking PhD holders thinking about that? The answer is no.
Interesting that you talk about PhD, but we shall not get into that right now. As we come to the close of this session, we have about 5 minutes, so about 2 minutes each to make your final comments, but you could also choose to comment about the process of reconstituting the IEBC. The selection panel says they will begin interviews in March, but they've received close to 1,850 applicants for the 7 positions of IEBC chairperson. Why such an interest in jobs that have historically not been very good for those people who've occupied them?
Now, let me tell you, once you realize such a big number, it tells you the beauty of competition. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Having such 1,000 plus applicants means we have qualified men and women who feels that they have ability to read that particular position of the chair. And the democracy will, and the merits of the scrutiny of that panel will finally give us the 2 names where we will be presented to the head of state to pick one at the end of the day. So that is how we should allow that process democratically to work, to give us at least, the number does not matter. Whether they are 5,000, I think they can be shortlisted, and at the end of the day, we still remain with the best out of the best. And coming to the process, I believe that the process is not heading negative. What I will ask is that, in fact, for this particular panel to successfully be within their timeline, they require budget, because everything has to be propelled by resources. And therefore, I would urge the government to make sure that there be no scarce of resources toward that process. Give it the importance it deserves, give it funding, so that, in fact, that panel can be able to conclude their job in timely, and then give us the commissioners, and at the end of the day, they give us the chair of the SIP. It has been a half work that today we are experiencing a vacuum of currently 5 positions. Remember, we have Magarini, we have a petition which kicked out the member, so it's vacant. We have now the Minister for Energy, he left a position which is vacant. We have Banisa, we lost a member, and now we have lost a member for Maraba, and we have lost the senator. So those are 5 positions, which we feel that actually the constituents of those particular constituencies deserve services, and therefore deserve representation. And therefore, I urge that, in fact, the process be move smoothly. And to move smoothly is having less interference from outside forces. I would urge that the state should desist completely to interfere with the process and leave that particular panel to its independency.
Okay. Thank you, Bwana Gakuya.
My closing remarks are not on politics, but on something that is very dear to me. By the way, I also have a PhD, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The issue of raising school fees for our learners in secondary schools, I think it is something that we need to relook at as a country. And my plea to the president is, if there was ever a legacy that he would bequeath this country, it would be to ensure that during his reign, secondary school education is accessible, and in fact, should be free. We have got many challenged learners back from where we come, and we did not advocate for an increase in the school fees because of the dwindling economic misfortunes of most of our constituents. And so I think this is something that we ask the Ministry of Education not to implement, let the government look for alternative sources of revenue to ensure that we have adequate capitation to our secondary schools. Let those parents who are able to afford take their children to private schools. But for the ordinary parent in Nyaribari, Masava, and other constituencies, we are against the increase of school fees. Let me tell you, Fred, we've just received applications for bursaries. My constituency alone, I have received close to 20,000 applications against a budget of 60 million shillings. A simple math will tell you that the maximum you would give a child or a learner is about 3,000 shillings. And that shows you the level at which our parents are struggling to ensure that they keep their children in school. Okay. And so as members of parliament, we do not advocate for an increase in school fees.
All right. Thank you, Bwana Manduku. Finally, Bwana Mutambu, you have about a minute only.
In that 1 minute, I want to help my good friend who has brought a very pertinent issue on education. As much as we are talking about people with PhDs doing things wrong, the only best gift you can give your child is education. Know that. And this country is rich enough to have free primary and secondary education.
Correct.
And we have resources. It is only that they are not being exploited to maximize the potential we have in this country. So to help Manduku, you don't need the president to do that. You are the legislators. You can come up with a law which proposes free secondary and primary education in Kenya. And that will cure the problem once and for all. And this issue of bursaries, people queuing in Mheshimiwa's office for bursary, and Mheshimiwa will say, you never voted for me, you voted for the other person, I'm giving the people who voted for me. Then we marginalize people there. It will still continue if we don't make a law to, and if they are not going to do that, you know, anybody can initiate a law. I will do it. Right. To make sure that free education is there. Then my advice to my good friend, Honorable Ruto, because I love him, he's a very good friend of mine. And I always say that. And the subject today is about politics. I want to tell him, he has good soldiers out there whom he has neglected, and they are getting tired. The time will come to reach those soldiers, they would have gone. So I want to tell him, Mr. President, reach out to your soldiers if you want to survive in this game. But the direction you are taking of ignoring your soldiers out there, they'll make you suffer.
All right. Indeed, in matters of education, principals want to raise school fees by 27,000 shillings, and this is a proposal by secondary school teachers to the Ministry of Education that, if adopted, will see parents pay up to 27,000 shillings more to keep their children at school. This is just one of the many headlines. Of course, today we're talking purely politics about Raila Odinga's return from African continental politics, and now what happens next. Thank you so much, Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, and James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, our panelists this morning. After the break, the art of driving sales, and my colleague Arno Dida will be sitting down with Martin Muthe, visual merchandiser, for that conversation. My name is Fred Ndimuli. Have a lovely day.